After Susan, Jack's Jr., got pregnant, he took her to a beach church. In front of everyone, dressed in a wedding gown, they shared a passionate kiss. Jack promised her, "I can give you a diamond ring, a wedding, a house. I can call you my lover. But my legal partner can only be Kathy. But if any of you mention this to Kathy, don't blame me for being harsh." Susan felt wronged, but Jack comforted her, holding her close. "Kathy became paralyzed because of me. I have to marry her. Be patient, okay?" He soothed. Hearing the crowd's teasing, I slowly made my way home on crutches. In reality, they didn't have to endure anything. What Jack doesn't know is that I've been secretly doing rehab to surprise him. The doctor says in 7 more sessions, I'll be able to walk normally. By then, I'll completely leave him. When Jack suspiciously looked over, I hurriedly retreated with my crutches. Since I'm not fully recovered and was moving quickly, I slipped on the sand and fell hard. "Hey! There's a cripple by the sea." Susan's voice chimed from behind, laughing sweetly. "The way she fell is hilarious, Jack. Look at her, isn't it funny? I hope our future baby doesn't embarrass us like that. Why are you frowning?" The voice was familiar, from the days when Jack used to avoid her at all costs. Did I just see Kathy? I froze as I tried to get up, my brain lagging behind my actions. Then I heard Jack say calmly, "Nothing, you must be mistaken. Kathy can't even stand." Hearing that, a sharp pain creeped up my calves. It felt even worse than when the car hit me. In my first year of grad school, Jack and I were in a car accident on the way back to campus. When the car raced towards us, I used all my strength to push him away, but I got hit and thrown 10 meters. I didn't lose my pathetic life, but my legs were paralyzed, my pelvis fractured, and my uterus was removed due to massive bleeding, meaning I'd never have children. For a long time after waking up, I couldn't accept my new reality. When I wanted to end it all countless times, it was Jack who helped me through. He proposed to me in front of our mentor and all our peers, making a big commotion on campus. He promised me the grandest wedding. There's only a month left until the wedding. But I don't want to go through with it anymore. On the taxi ride home from the hospital, the drivers were chatting among themselves. "Did you hear? That business prodigy from the news is marrying his disabled girlfriend. On May 20th, the youngest company president is buying up every taxi LED ad space in town. They'll all flash, 'Kathy, marry me.' That's not all, there will be a drone show over the river at night." I cynically smiled, gripping my barely sensate legs tightly with both hands. The taxi driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "Young lady, you know that couple too?" He sighed. The girl ended up disabled for him. The man's rich and devoted. Even at my age, it's touching to see true love win in the end. My newly healed legs seemed to ache all over again. I spoke softly. "Yeah, it's really envy-inducing. The Kathy from before finding the truth." Jack came home in the early hours. I sat by the window, sipping drink after drink, gazing at the night. He was stunned. "Why are you drinking? Are your legs hurting again, and you're trying to numb the pain?" He crouched to massage my legs. I said nothing, just pushed him away. He thought I was sulking. "I didn't mean to be late. I went to get your gift." Saying that, he took a jewelry box from the bag. "Just got this from an auction. That annoying Mike was bidding against me for this sapphire necklace, but I got it. Here, let me put it on you." Jack gently kissed her pregnant belly, and the image stayed burned in my mind. The strange smell of orange blossom perfume on him made me pull away from the necklace. He was puzzled. "What's wrong?" Glancing at the sapphire, I thought of the first gift Jack ever gave me, a sapphire ring, which made me love sapphires ever since. But now... I smiled faintly. "Nothing really, just don't like it anymore. I don't like sapphires, nor him anymore." Jack hesitated before throwing the necklace onto the sofa. "Don't like it? Fine. Kathy, are you hungry? I'll make you some noodle soup." I love the noodle soup from West City, but my legs make it inaccessible. Jack learned the recipe for me traveling there. It was once the symbol of my happiness. But now, suppressing boiling emotions, I looked at my crutches hidden behind the curtains. In 7 rehab sessions, I'll be able to walk normally. Jack, I gave you my life once. But not marriage. The chef's heart changed, and so did the taste of the noodle soup. Jack finally noticed my mood, asking, "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" "Jack, I don't want to get married anymore." His face darkened instantly, voice growing stern. "Kathy, I told you, you can do anything, but you can't leave me. I've waited 3 years for this day to marry you. Plus, who else besides me would?" His voice cut off abruptly. As my face turned pale instantly, he seemed to realize what he'd just said. He quickly reached out to hold my face gently. "Kathy, that's not what I meant." My leg hurt more than it did that afternoon, so I turned my head away from his hand. "I know. I'm tired. I want to sleep," I said. Hearing me say that, Jack let out a long sigh of relief. He carried me to the bed and then lay down next to me. "Come on, let me hold you while you sleep." He pulled me into his arms without letting me say no, but that unfamiliar scent of orange blossoms lingered around my nose. I couldn't help but hold my breath and nudged him. "Go take a shower." Surprisingly, Jack seemed stunned. He glanced at my leg, a hint of resistance evident in his eyes, though he tried to hide it. "And never mind, I don't want to disturb your sleepiness. How about I do it another day?" I froze all over. Since I've been paralyzed, my life has been filled with gloom, and I haven't been interested in much else. Seeing the subtle disdain in Jack's eyes, I realized that he hasn't been intimate beyond holding hands and hugging for some time now. I closed my eyes, feeling humiliated. "What I meant was that you have an odor from being out all day. I don't like it." I wrote the numbers 1 through 7 on the wall. After my physical therapy was done, I crossed out the number 1. I called Jack. "I want to visit your company." Jack seemed a bit surprised, then got excited. "Kathy, are you finally coming to visit my company? Should I send someone to pick you up?" I turned down his offer and just took a cab there. He excitedly wheeled me into the company, not holding back. He introduced me to everyone we met. "This is my fiancé, Kathy. We're getting married in a month." Yes, the company's named after her too. Kathy, cool name for a tech company, right? Everyone would smile and congratulate Jack, but when they looked at my legs, there was always that look of sympathy I've seen far too much of this past year. "Jack, can you take me to HR?" He didn't ask why, just took me there right away. Jack had given me a high position in his company to put my mind at ease. I didn't have to do anything, and my share of his bonuses got deposited into my account as salary. He said that a man's heart is where his money is. That was his promise to me. But I was ready to leave. I didn't want any more ties with him. "Director, can you remove me from the position?" The HR director and Jack were both stunned. The director spoke carefully. "Is it because you're marrying Jack, Miss Kathy, so you don't need this position anymore?" At this, Jack's frown eased out. He held my hand, smiling indulgently. "Fair enough. After we're married, I'll transfer the company to Kathy's name. Everything, including me and the company, will be hers, no need for a title. She'll be the one paying me then." He proudly bragged in front of everyone. I was already planning where I'd go after leaving him. Over the next week, Jack left early and returned late, sometimes getting called out by a phone call at 2 a.m. He always used work as the excuse. But I knew full well it was Susan on the other line. I didn't make a scene and instead threw myself into physical therapy. When the number 2 was crossed out, Jack seemed to sense something was off. He kept trying to get me back to special places. "Kathy, is this a countdown to our wedding day? We're only 3 weeks away now. How about I take you to the place where I first proposed?" I wanted to refuse but couldn't resist when he insistently pushed my wheelchair out the door. Arriving at the street, I was taken aback by the view. surprised. He squatted down, pointing out everything in front of me with patience. To honor our love, I bought the street. I had all the marks of us made into attractions. It's turned into a popular spot now. Couples were taking photos at the giant heart in the street center. When the guys didn't take good enough photos, the girls chased after them, pretending to scold them. I got lost in thought, looking at that girl's beautiful, functioning legs. I used to have legs like that. They danced ballet after ballet, won medal after medal. But now, I couldn't even stand without support. Jack stood up, trying to will me over. Want to take some pictures? Kathy, you're the prettiest. Before he could finish, his phone's distinct ringtone sounded again. He glanced at me and immediately declined the call. As calls came in non-stop, and Jack was on the verge of turning off his phone, I said calmly, "Take it." He hesitated, parked my wheelchair in a safe spot. "The company has an emergency." "Kathy, stay put and don't wander off, okay?" He walked a bit away, but I caught a bit. "Didn't I say not to call me for no reason?" The baby, again, Susan, you're pushing it." Stomachache? Jack became visibly anxious. After hanging up, he hurried back to me. "Kathy, there's an issue at the company. I'll call a cab for you to go home, all right?" I refused, saying I wanted to look around. Jack hesitated a moment and then quickly left. When I was with Jack, I told him I had a thing about loyalty. If he ever betrayed me, I'd erase all traces of myself and leave him for good. I went from shop to shop, and with the money Jack left me, I paid those owners to take down the signs marking our love story, putting up new narratives I wrote down instead. They told the story of how I found out about Jack and Susan's affair. The bosses hesitated but eventually agreed because there was enough money involved. Right after I had cleaned up every trace, I accidentally saw a street sign. My legs suddenly went numb with pain. The couple who had just been taking photos came over. "Miss, do you need some help?" I took a deep breath, forced a smile, and pointed at the sign. "What's that?" The girl followed my gaze, then chuckled. "Susan Street. This street was specially made by a man for the girl he loved, named after Susan. No idea who this man is, but he's deeply in love." It was only after I finished erasing traces on this street that I realized it was named after a third party. How ironic. "Do you know when this street was built?" The girl blurted out, "About 10 months ago, I think." 10 months ago, that was 2 months after my car accident. Back then, Jack was with me day and night, constantly holding my hand, declaring his love. Turns out, he had already changed his heart. After leaving, I went back to the hospital for more recovery sessions. Jack's behavior kept replaying in my mind, making me eager to heal quickly. But the more anxious I was, the worse it got. After falling for the third time, the doctor couldn't stand it and helped me up. "It's not even time for your next session today. Rushing things makes it harder to recover." I wiped my face, the sweat soaking the fine hairs on my forehead. "Dr. Chen, how many sessions do I have left at least?" The doctor checked my legs. "Don't rush, only 5 more times." 5 more, shouldn't take long. Back home, using my crutch, I slowly packed my things. The engagement ring was still quietly lying in the drawer. I held it, moved it around a bit, then called for a courier. "Could you deliver this to Sia Corporation in 4 days? As for the rest of my stuff, I'll give away and sell as needed. I'm not keeping any of it. Only 5 more times, and I can leave this place." After sorting things out, a video popped up on my phone about Jack and Kathy's wedding announcement. They're getting married soon, so excited. Jack said he's responsible for Kathy's future, so he's giving her the grandest wedding. Everyone online was envious. Without expression, I turned the video off and started looking at plane tickets for 3 weeks later. During the 3rd rehab session, I got a bunch of photos from an unfamiliar number. There were pictures of Jack looking at a prenatal test, teaching the baby while looking at a belly, and flipping through a dictionary for baby names. Obviously, Susan sent them. Hey there, do I really need to introduce myself? I'll be direct. I've had a child with him for a while, and in a few months, the baby will arrive. Know your place and step aside. Haven't you noticed he hasn't been touching you? You know why, right? Seeing your lifeless legs gives him a psychological block. He adores my legs, he never wants to let go. I calmly replied, is that so? Congrats to you, then. Back home, I casually crossed off the number 3. Silently calculating how many things were left to do before I could leave. When it was time for the 4th rehab session, the next day Jack brought 2 designers back with him. Kathy, the wedding dress you liked is ready, the designers brought it for you to try on, see if it needs any adjustments. Jack naturally kissed me and said to the designers afterward. Everything according to her wishes. I was bored, letting the designers handle everything. After measuring for half an hour, my doctor sent a message. When will the 4th rehab you scheduled take place? I glanced back at Jack, busy dealing with his cheating evidence, tonight. I bet Susan will call him away tonight. Just as I sent the message, I heard the designer admiring. Miss Kathy, Mr. Sia truly dotes on you, spending $2 million for your wedding dress. Everyone admires your love story, it's our honor to make your dress, and I want to soak up some of that luck. After Jack was called away by another phone call, I made a request to the designer. Adjust the size of the wedding dress, please. Make it fit a woman 6 months pregnant. This is a surprise for Jack, don't let it slip out. With the wedding only half a month away, Jack was arranging every detail daily. When he talked about the wedding plans, his eyes were always sparkling. He even childishly recited wedding vows, holding my hand. I interrupted him, what if one day you betray me? Jack paused, then put my hand on his heart. Kathy, you're the only woman I'll ever love, my only wife. If I ever betray you, I'll give this life back to you. Lying without blinking. I laughed silently and pulled my hand away. What do I need your life for? Remember what I always said, if you're unfaithful, I'll leave you completely. After that, I rolled my wheelchair away from him. Jack panicked and quickly knelt in front of me. His eyes slightly reddened. Kathy, I won't let you leave me. Why, did you betray me? Without thinking, Jack fiercely denied it. I had no interest in his excuses, only wheeling myself toward the door. Forget it, you're busy, I have things to do too. Today's my 5th rehab session scheduled. Actually, I can walk now. The doctor just wanted to refine my walking posture today, said it should look graceful. I made an excuse to get some fresh air. But what I didn't expect was to open the door and see Susan standing there with her belly, smiling. Jack, in my peripheral vision, was completely stunned. Then a flicker of impatience flashed across his face. Sorry, we're just about to head out. It's not convenient for visitors right now. Susan slightly bowed her head, her hands constantly caressing her belly. But I'm a bit tired from walking, Senior, can I come in and rest my feet? I couldn't quite describe how I felt at that moment. Angry, yet finding it absurdly funny that a third party could openly come to our door and provoke us like that. Seeing Jack's nervous and flustered face, I stepped aside and made way. Come in. Susan glanced at Jack and walked straight in, sitting down on the sofa. She stroked her belly, her face full of happiness. Excuse me, but pregnant women do have it rough sometimes. Oh, by the way, Senior, I heard you had a car accident and had to have your uterus removed. Such a shame. She smiled innocently, as if she was saying something completely harmless. Why don't you let my baby in here be her goddaughter? She kept talking, each sentence skirting the edge of my tolerance. But when Jack heard that last part, a hint of curiosity appeared on his previously strained face. I chuckled softly and turned to look at Jack. If you like, sure, but I wonder if the junior would be willing. Jack's eyes lit up. Kathy, are you really okay with that? He glanced at Susan, exchanged a quick look, then carefully asked me. Kathy, what if we adopt a child? Then you could still be a mom, and we could still be a happy family of 3. I laughed softly and went along with it, saying sure. After all, I was already leaving. He could bring Susan to move in if he wanted. When Susan left, she claimed her stomach hurt and asked Jack to take her home. The vein in Jack's forehead throbbed with irritation, but after a few seconds of eye contact, Jack grabbed his keys and went out the door. Susan was left behind, and when she looked at me again, her expression changed immediately. She mouthed words, silently calling me worthless while pointing at my legs. I silently watched from the window. Downstairs, Susan deliberately threw herself at Jack. Jack pushed her away, scolding her, but soon they were kissing again. They kissed as they got into the car. Half an hour later, Jack hurried back upstairs. He was busy in the kitchen for a while, preparing a week's worth of meals for me. Kathy, sorry. I've been so busy lately, and I have to leave on a business trip for 2 weeks. I made meals for every day and put them in the fridge. Make sure you eat, okay? When I get back, we can start planning the wedding. He wanted to kiss me, but remembering how he and Susan had been all over each other, I frowned and moved away. No need to cook, I can order takeout. I'm going out for some air. Without waiting for his reply, I headed straight for the hospital. Until I stood in front of the doctor and began taking steps without my crutches, step by step. I finally smiled. That night, I bought myself a ticket to France. I wanted to see the ballet competition I'd always dreamed of. The next day, Jack left early. He thought I was still asleep, and even kissed me on the cheek before he left. He seemed to be trying to brainwash himself. Kathy, after she gives birth, I'll compensate her and have her leave. We'll raise the baby together, all right? I'm sorry, Kathy. The family needs an heir, but once this is done, I'll make it up to you, okay? Just wait for me to come back. After hearing the door close, I slowly opened my eyes. Jack was still dreaming about the future. But his heart was already with Susan. He hadn't even realized I was saying goodbye to him. Looking around the house again, there wasn't much left that belonged to me. Jack's heart wasn't here, and he didn't notice anything. This time, I cleared out the last of my things. Once I marked off the number 7, I gave the doctor a bank card. We've been through treatment, and we've become friends. I don't have connections, so please help donate this money to people like me who need treatment. There's $6 million in there, it should help a lot. The doctor looked at me in surprise. This much money? All of it? I nodded. Donate it. I'd spent Jack's money in various ways. And this $6 million was part of what I got from selling the jewelry. I made one last trip to my old school. Everyone was surprised to see me. My advisor even had tears in his eyes, so excited. Kathy, your leg is better. Where's Jack? He's not with you? I know, he's probably busy with the wedding plans, right? I didn't deny it and just said, please help keep this a secret, I want it to be a surprise. Everyone nodded excitedly. We'll all be there for the wedding, and give you big gifts. Yes, the advisor even wants to officiate the wedding. Everyone was laughing happily, but I suddenly felt a little guilty. The wedding would never happen, but I couldn't tell them now. I donated the rest of Jack's money to the school. The day before Jack returned, I boarded a flight to France. At the wedding, I'll send Jack a final gift. Lying in bed, reading children's books as a way to educate the baby, a feeling came over Jack suddenly. He sat up abruptly, startling the sleeping Susan. Jack, you promised to stay with me. Are you going back to see that useless person? Jack's face turned serious as he warned her, say anything more about Kathy, and you'll have no reason to keep that child. Luckily, Kathy didn't find out this time. If you provoke her again, don't blame me if I force you to get rid of the baby. With that, he brushed aside Susan's pregnant belly, threw on some clothes, and drove back home. The business trip was just an excuse for some time with Susan. He lived in a rich neighborhood not far from home and ran to his doorstep in 15 minutes. Jack felt his heart inexplicably jump to his throat. "Kathy, I came back early. I really want." Before he finished, he realized something was off. His home, when did it become so empty? Kathy? He searched every room, but there was no one in the big house. Seeing Kathy's wheelchair left alone in the secondary bedroom stunned Jack. "The wheelchair is still here, Kathy, where are you?" All sorts of dangerous scenarios flashed through his mind, just like that car accident. Jack held his head, instantly overwhelmed with anxiety. He called Kathy numerous times, but couldn't get through once. Only now, after being away from home for over 10 days, did he finally check WeChat. When he saw the chat record with Kathy, empty for several days, his eyes stung. He finally realized how he had been neglecting Kathy during this time. "Kathy, where on earth did you go?" he said, then turned and started searching everywhere. The restaurant Kathy liked. The mall Kathy occasionally visited. Even the company under his name. He searched everywhere. In total despair, he thought of the school. Before the accident, Kathy was the tutor's favorite student. Even after her leg got hurt, she often went to the school entrance to be lost in thought. Maybe she went to the school again this time? But when Jack arrived at the school, everyone was giving him knowing, happy looks. "Kathy? Did she come back to school?" Everyone replied at once. "She came back, but she's gone again. She even donated over $4 million to the school. But then she said she was leaving." "Jack, where did Kathy go?" Jack was utterly panicked, feeling as if something snapped in his mind. He didn't wait for the mentor to finish speaking before he rushed off in a flurry. This time, he went to the hospital. Found Kathy's attending doctor. But before he could speak, the doctor pulled out a certificate of appreciation. "Tell Kathy, the money she donated helped a lot of people." He was stunned. He stared at the doctor for a long time before uttering 2 words, "What?" The doctor chuckled, patting Jack's shoulder. "So happy you're speechless? Forget the time you barged into my office, throwing money at me to fix your girlfriend's leg? Kathy's leg is better. Though there's still a small issue, she can walk normally now. She donated $6 million to others with disabilities. Isn't this the certificate?" Jack's mind buzzed. Without thinking, he walked to that famous street. Only then did he notice there were no traces of him or Kathy. He frantically asked every shop owner and got the same answer. Kathy asked them to change it. Dejectedly, he returned home and stood in the living room for a long time. Finally, he seemed to remember something and walked to the master bedroom. After taking a moment, he summoned the courage to open the wardrobe door. His clothes were hung neatly in their places. But Kathy's were all gone. That's when Jack realized Kathy had healed and left. Where did Kathy go? Since the car accident, she had stayed by his side day and night. Where else could she go? Jack started calling all of Kathy's friends. "Did Kathy come to you? Is she mad I haven't spent time with her lately? Please help me apologize. I was wrong. I really was wrong. I'll stay by her 24/7, I promise." Jack said this over and over. But no one knew where Kathy was. Kathy's phone was also unreachable, and she vanished without a trace just like that. Jack sat helplessly on the bed, eyes stinging like crazy. "Kathy, why did you leave me, why?" As he thought, Jack suddenly lifted his head. Did Kathy discover something? Otherwise, she'd never leave without saying a word. So, Jack dialed Susan's number. Susan was still sulking because Jack left abruptly earlier. "Humph, really looking for me now, not staying with your crippled girlfriend?" "Susan." He roared in anger, "I've warned you many times, keep saying that, and I'll kick you out. Did you say something to Kathy? Why did she leave suddenly?" On the other end, Susan hesitated for a moment, but her tone turned excited. "Not my business, how would I know? Jack, our baby is almost here, and Kathy left just when we. Jack impatiently hung up. He sat motionlessly on the bed, allowing the night to swallow him. Not until the assistant called him for a company meeting the next day did he finally answer the phone. "Handle it yourself." He replied numbly, but the assistant said, "Jack, there's a package your wife bought for you. It's been lying here for days." "What?" Jack grabbed his keys and rushed to the company. "Jack, did your wife want to surprise you or something? Come on, open it. She even sent it to the company specially." Jack swallowed nervously, but when he opened it to find a wedding ring, his hand trembled. The assistant, ignorant of the situation, teased, "A ring? Haha, Jack and your wife have such a good relationship. Get out." Jack roared furiously. He desperately replayed every detail of their time together, certain everything was flawless. Yet, something went wrong, costing him Kathy. Jack pulled all his strings, searching the world for her. The search for Kathy turned up empty. The whole city seemed scoured, yet she was nowhere to be found. As the wedding day approached, instead of Kathy, it was Jack's mom who started showing up with Susan, making frequent appearances. If that woman who can't have babies is gone, so be it. Why do you keep looking for her? Susan's expecting a boy, you know. What's gotten into you? Within a week, Jack seemed like a different man. His eyes were bloodshot, and he was irritable and angry. My life was saved by Kathy, and you ask why I focus on her? You might not have a conscience, but I do. I can't betray her. You all just get out. Jack's mother, enraged by his words, slapped him hard. Do you even hear yourself? You talk about loyalty, yet here we are, with Susan carrying your child. How do you explain that? Jack opened his mouth, but no words came out. Susan's presence was undeniable proof of his infidelity. Meanwhile, Kathy was strolling through the romantic streets of France. Imagined solitude did not devour her, instead, she found a comfort and freedom she hadn't expected. Being grounded was refreshing. She was in control of every step she took. She couldn't socialize or dance due to the accident. So, she threw herself into learning songwriting. This effort even got a few of her songs a bit of fame online. She continued to excel in her field. Silently counting down to the booked wedding day, she finally met the day. Word was, Jack had put a lot of effort into planning a grand wedding for her on that very day. At noon, a video popped up on screens all over town. The whole city was watching the wedding that was supposed to happen that day. Billboards outside malls played a message over and over, "Kathy, marry me." Taxis zoomed around, each one leaving trails of Jack's love for Kathy wherever they stopped. Crowds gathered outside the mall, eager to witness the wedding of the century. Finding a man like Jack, worth it even without legs, isn't it? They're like a match made in heaven. I heard this wedding cost tens of millions. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event for us regular folks. Right as they were saying this, the screen lit up. But what they saw wasn't a wedding. Instead, pictures showed Jack, shirtless, lying in another woman's arms. Whoa, wasn't this supposed to be a wedding live stream? What's this about? Whose arms is Jack in? Where's Kathy, the bride? As the photos ended, screenshots of chats appeared. Hey there, senior, no need to introduce myself, right? Don't think your legs are some trump card. One word from me, and Jack dumped you to come find me. Truth is, I'm already having Jack's baby. Due in a few months. You should leave on your own. Has it been forever since Jack touched you? Wonder why? He gets a mental block from seeing your lifeless legs. You don't know how much he loves my legs. He holds them and never wants to let go. Everyone who saw these messages exploded with emotion, except for Jack, who stood frozen. After seeing Susan's messages, his veins pulsed with rage as he slammed his fists into the wall. Susan, it was you, it was you. He sped like mad to Susan's place, and when he arrived, Susan hid behind Jack's mother. Jack, you crazy? That woman's ruined you, left you in disgrace. When will you wake up? Dare lay a finger on Susan. Before she could finish, Jack shoved his mom outside. At the same time, people from the bridal shop arrived. They brought the wedding dress to Susan, sent on Kathy's orders. Jack's face darkened with anger. This is Kathy's wedding dress. Why'd you bring it here? The bridal shop staff exchanged glances and revealed the maternity wedding dress. Jack was stunned. His eyes burned as he realized Kathy had prepared for this. Slowly, step by step, he cornered Susan. Only then did Susan panic. She dropped to her knees, voice trembling. Jack, my stomach hurts, please don't, I'm scared. She tried to speak, but Jack silenced her with his hand. I told you, if you went after Kathy, you'd lose that baby. And with that, he pounded his fist into Susan's pregnant belly. Susan's eyes widened, struggling desperately to no avail. Until blood pooled beneath her, Jack stepped away, eyes red with anger. Susan, you're despicable. Jack's public scandal tanked his reputation, dragging his company down with it. But he couldn't care less, obsessed with Kathy. On the day his company's sales hit rock bottom, he finally found Kathy's flight details to another city. That night, he grabbed the next plane out. When the plane landed, Jack, usually impatient, was at a loss. He'd lost all morality, betrayed Kathy. He didn't deserve her saving his life. After finding out where Kathy worked, he bought flowers. He waited on the street Kathy always took home. Seeing the one he longed for again, Jack's eyes filled with tears. But he couldn't speak. Kathy's gaze was calm as she looked at him, unfazed. She finally broke the silence. You found me after all. Hearing her voice again, Jack wept. He walked forward with big strides, but Kathy kept stepping back. Kathy, please give me a chance. I know I was wrong. I'm a jerk, and I hurt you. I let you down. Even if you don't love me anymore, can I stay by your side? I just want to watch over you. Kathy, your legs have finally healed. A man in his 20s ended up crying his heart out without any care about his image. Kathy kept a faint smile on her lips the whole time. She nodded and picked up the conversation, saying calmly, yeah, my legs have finally healed. Jack, I can now follow my heart, and I can leave you. With that, Kathy turned and walked away. Jack quickly caught up, wanting to grab Kathy's hand but timidly let it go. Kathy, please don't leave me. My thing with Susan was just a fling. The family needed a child, but my heart has always been with you. Don't worry, I already ended things with Susan. We can start over, okay? From now on, it's just you and me. I'm willing to give up anything to be with you. Kathy paused, her voice emotionless. Give up? Then why don't you start by giving up your legs? Jack watched in shock as Kathy walked away determinedly, feeling utterly helpless. A car sped by, hitting Jack as he crossed against the light. There was a loud crash, and people rushed over, trying to help. Kathy never looked back as she walked away. Jack looked at his twisted, bloody legs, and he almost laughed and cried at the same time. Turns out, it hurts this much. Maybe even more than when the car hit him. Right after surgery, Jack was taken away by the police. The lawyer told Jack, after you forced Susan to have an abortion, her uterus was severely damaged and had to be removed. She's demanding $6 million in compensation, or she'll sue you. Your company went bankrupt, and all the money you earned was taken by Kathy to pay advertisers to broadcast your cheating scandal all over town. Your family can't come up with $6 million for the compensation, so you might face jail time. Unless you want to sue Kathy first to try to get your money back. But that's unlikely to succeed. Jack chuckled and spoke after a long pause. I always said what's mine is hers. It's only right for her to spend her own money. Sadly, I messed up, and she doesn't want me anymore. How can a cripple survive in prison? A year later, he dragged his broken wheelchair to find Kathy again. He wanted to tell Kathy he had paid the price for his mistakes. Could she maybe give him one more chance? But Jack didn't expect to see a new man by Kathy's side. One was singing, and the other was dancing. The way Kathy's eyes sparkled was something he always dreamed of seeing. Kathy was truly smiling. But not because of him. Jack went crazy, but no one cares about a broken-down guy in a wheelchair. He watched them walk by hand in hand. Kathy playfully said, "It's our first day with the marriage license. Why not go out to celebrate? Why the rush to go home?" The man laughed and said, "Well, time to start as a lawful husband, of course."